So guys, have a great day. Check out these couple of interviews and I will talk to you soon. Hey everyone, ladies, gentlemen, everybody, we're back again. I've got absolute superstar sitting here. Nickolas, the Governor Wildstar, or Governor Nickolas Wildstar. Mate, thank you very much for coming back, joining us again. Love your work, mate. You've been the busiest bloke in California recently. It's all been happening.
Yeah, man, I've been hard at work getting gruesome Newsom out of office, our governor, so we've been collecting signatures to remove him from office, and we've gathered over 2.1 million signatures for that effort. Right now, they're all being counted to see if they're eligible to get that special election kicked off, but it looks as if it's going to happen, which means I'll get my opportunity to serve the people of California sooner. I was expecting that election to be in June 2022, next year. But with this special election happening, it could possibly end up being kicked off around September, October, So if again, we vote to recall our governor, we'll also have a chance to vote for a new governor at the same time. And hopefully the people of California will choose me for that opportunity.
Mate, and I hope so too. So all of our interactions, I've been pretty impressed, not only with your intellect, but more importantly, I think you're actually a really genuine human, which is fucking sorely lacking in politics, mate. Sorely lacking in politics. I guess a big topic for you, other than trying to spear gruesome Newsom out, which I'm obviously a long way away from, so I can't really sign the petition, and if I did, it wouldn't make much difference. But but you've got my supporters' full support to try and get rid of the guy. I think the more of these corrupt politicians we can put out on their ass, the better.
Exactly.
But mate, you had a pretty solid trial and tribulation pop up very recently, and I reached out because obviously we weren't sure if you were going to. I think 6 years you were threatened with.
Yeah.
What was the story, or what was the from the horse's mouth, my man?
Yeah, ridiculously, they were trying to put me in jail for 6 damn years for videotaping in court, which is actually happening right now with the Derek Chauvin trial. Is the police officer that killed George Floyd. He's on trial, and his court case is being broadcast publicly. Why? Because courts are a public place, and we, the people, should be able to make sure that we are documenting that process and making sure there isn't anything going on in there that's in secrecy. That's exactly what I was doing. I appeared in court in September of 2018 on some traffic citations and was videotaping, my court appearance. And it was just my own court case. It wasn't the entire proceedings of everyone else that was, there, but just my own. And the judge told me to stop in both cases, and I refused to do so. I let them know I had the right to freedom of press under the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, as well as the right to a public court proceeding, guaranteed under the Sixth Amendment as well. So I informed them of this, and despite the constitutionality of my exercise of rights, I was again told to leave the courtroom, to stop, and thrown out of the courtroom. So a year later, damn near, I was traveling with my family and was pulled over, driving while black, profiled by police officers, and pulled over and arrested for a warrant out for contempt of court that I was completely unaware of. So the Orange County, where this happened in Orange County, California, Orange County prosecutor and district attorney's office chose to file charges against me for that recording in court. And I think mainly they did this because the videos that I had recorded, I put them up on YouTube and they went viral, and nobody likes to be made a fool of, especially when they're acting unjustly, and their job is to uphold the law. So to clear their reputation, they brought me in as a criminal for contempt of court. I actually had another third court case that I appeared in court for, and I wasn't recording this time, at least to their knowledge. I secretly recorded that and made it available on my YouTube channel. But but they didn't like that, and they didn't like me being in court the way that I was presenting myself and speaking to the judge. So I was arrested right then and there on the spot for contempt of court, and spent about 9 days in jail. I missed my son's first Christmas. You know, this was around the Christmas holiday, and I had to pay about $1,500 just to bail out of jail, so I can enjoy New Year's with my family. So it's been a crushing experience, because this happened during this pandemic, actually before, but then it's just been drug out throughout this whole crisis, mainly because the justice system, or the law system, what I more so think it is, wants to make an example out of me. So just recently I had a court trial, and this was over President's Day week here in America. I was on trial in front of the jury and was found guilty of contempt of court by the jurors, for, again, exercising my right in court.
It's a crazy, crazy system you guys have over there, and there are certain aspects of it I, as an Aussie, look at and I go, fuck, that's pretty cool. I like that. And then there's other stuff, of course, that you sort of look at and go, that really sucks. But I do like how you guys, I mean, Australia has a constitution, of course, but I reckon most people over here would have no idea what it said.
Like most Americans.
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys throw around your the First Amendment, the Second Amendment. You talk about it in everyday language. Most Australians aren't even aware that they have a constitution. It's just a funny difference,
Well, the amendments pertain to the Bill of Rights, which was a piece later added, but the founding documents of this country are the United States Constitution, which basically talks about how the government should operate. The Bill of Rights, which talks about what rights of we the people, the government should respect and protect at all times, above all else, And then the Declaration of Independence, which speaks of our sovereignty as individuals here in a sovereign nation. So those three documents combined, again, form our government and create the law and order and balanced system that we're supposed to have. But we see law officials all of the time abuse their authority, break the same laws that we're all expected to abide by. And it's gotten us to this point where we have complete lawlessness here in America. I mean, not only with the Chauvin trial, but with the Capitol riot on January 6th, the upset protesters over the election storming the nation's capital. We've had the Black Lives Matter protests all throughout the country this entire time, and people upset about these lockdowns and the unconstitutionality and dictatorship that, the tyrants like Newsom have, used their power to impose on us. So we're very upset here in America, and you guys all across the world are watching a new American revolution happen right before your eyes.
Yeah, mate, look, it seems that way to me. And you've mentioned some pretty key topics. The Chauvin trial, whatever you pronounce old mate's name. I think you and I discussed that last time because it was actually red hot right around the time we previously spoke. And I mean, look, the guy needs to be locked up.
Right.
He murdered a bloke in cold blood. I don't care if you got a badge or you haven't got a badge. It was fucking murder. And I don't actually care whether George Floyd, now I don't know what you guys, how you guys see George Floyd. Some people see him as a bit of he's turned into a hero. Some people say, oh, well, he's a bit of a scumbag anyway. The point being, I don't care if you've got a badge or not. You don't go around murdering fucking anybody. You don't have that right, regardless of whether he was a top bloke or a scumbag or, the best, worst, whatever. It's not up to some cop to go and kill the guy. I mean, it's completely out of order.
Yeah, when your job is to protect people. I mean, that doesn't
we have that, yeah. Protect and serve and kill them if you don't like them. Like, fucking really?
Exactly. And like I said, man, we've seen that happen too many times here in the nation also. I mean, not only with George Floyd, but with Stephon Clark, with Sean Bell, with Ahmaud Arbery, another black man that was killed right before George Floyd and was actually what is it, kicked off a lot of those Black Lives Matter protests before that happened. So the killing of Breonna Taylor and so many others. I mean, the list just goes on. And it's like, that's why right now people are looking at this trial as being more so a trial of our American justice system, to see if they'll actually green light an officer killing a person, you know, whether they were guilty or not, in cold blood, in broad daylight, in front of all to see, and us feeling helpless in doing anything about it. So either we're going to have a justice system that makes sure that the people that are taking the oath to uphold the law abide by those same laws, or they're going to be given a pass and a license to kill. And that's happened time and time again. I'm not expecting anything different from this trial, believe it or not. And I don't think many people in America are either, which is why we're mainly preparing for the response to that.
Mate, look, I've been watching as much as I can with it all going on, and as a theory or a working theory, I've got far less respect for corrupt police than corrupt citizens. Police take taxpayer dollars to live their lives, and to do that, they do it accepting certain roles and responsibilities. Exactly. Whereas some guy who's out selling pot on the corner, which is still mostly illegal in Australia. So, I mean, obviously selling whatever, you know.
Welcome to
America. That's on my list of things to try and overthrow and sort out as well. But you know what I mean? At least if you're just a citizen who's decided to undertake an illegal activity, you haven't committed to upholding any necessary laws or oaths, and you're not taking taxpayer dollars. As long as you know what I mean, like that. To me, there's a big difference, and people don't always see that. If you're a state official, a policeman, a politician, or whatever, you are serving the public. You've put your hand up to serve the public, and you're living off their dollar. Therefore, no, you can't be corrupt, and no, you can't go around killing people, and no, you can't just make up the rules to suit yourself. You've got to conform to what you've chosen to participate in, I suppose, as a role in life.
Well, they have a job. It isn't our job to be going around acting as if we need to behave a certain way and be model citizens and, you know, conduct ourselves in a certain manner. They are, you know, the public officials, the ones that are being held to a higher standard and are being paid by, like you said, the taxpayers, to be that example for the rest of the community, to say, this is how things should be done. I'll be that role model and follow in my footsteps, basically. Look at what's going on with our politicians and our law enforcement system and law officials in general. Nobody wants to behave like them. If anything, they're acting more authoritarian than an American government is ever supposed to behave. And we're sitting back allowing it to happen simply because we're being compliant. You know, we are threatened with the rule of law, with force, you know, whether it be physical force or financial force or some type of disciplinary act by this law system that again demands that we, the people, the average person, behave a certain way. We all can conduct ourselves in a civil, peaceful manner. We do that naturally as human beings, or else there will be complete chaos, you know, in every society all across the world. But we're not like that. You know, human nature, we're loving, peaceful, caring beings, you know, and we live our lives accordingly. And that isn't happening because we have government people in government telling us that that's how we need to live, you know. It's ridiculous.
I don't know one person in politics who I would trust to rule over my life and manage my life better than what I will in a way that suits me. Exactly. And I'm sure you don't either. And you probably know quite a lot of people in politics, as do I, at various levels. And some of them are great people. Some of them are fine. But I still wouldn't say to them, oh, here's my life, you run it and you tell me what I should be doing and how I should be doing it, because you're so much better at it than me.
Exactly.
You've got this clown behind you in your poster, man. Now, I've seen some of your videos, but for the guys who haven't quite crossed over from checking out a little bit of Resolute TV here and moved over into checking out the Black Side of Liberty with Governor Wildstar, mate, what charges have you been throwing at this guy? So I know you've been attacking him pretty hard, but what are your main gripes with Gruesome Newsom? What's he been doing to piss you off?
Well, he's a job killer, you know. That's my biggest gripe, is at a time when our nation needs to be at work, you know, going out there, providing a living for ourselves as individuals. We're being told that a certain group of people is essential, while another group of people is considered non-essential. So my livelihood, me taking care of myself, my family, my children, you know, isn't important to him. And basically, before this lockdown, he has changed laws that prevented people from working, you know, independently. And America is the land of opportunity. When you rob people of having a chance to gain entrepreneurship, to build a business, then you're preventing them from having all of those opportunities that this land is supposed to afford them. This again was before the lockdown. Before the lockdown, he also raised taxes on the people of California. He passed multiple laws preventing us from being able to obtain weapons, whether it be, you know, a gun or a collapsible baton. You know, so many restrictive laws to prevent us from being able to protect ourselves. And when it comes to you being able to exercise your natural right to defend yourself and, you know, purchase anything that you need, any tool for self-defense, there should not, again, be any restrictions to that, according to our United States Constitution. Again, we have dictators like him who believe otherwise. So those are some of my biggest gripes with him, not to mention just being one of those type of elitists that think they know better than the rest of us and want to impose on us certain rules that they themselves don't abide by. For instance, many of the restaurants here in the state of California, actually during that time, the majority of restaurants in the state of California weren't allowing indoor dining. He was caught indoors eating at some fancy 5-star restaurant, you know, where it's like
laundry.
Yeah, exactly. It's like $200.
Remember the Freedom Chef happening here? I've actually got Thomas Keller's book up on the wall there. I mean, that's an excellent restaurant. And there's you know, the work that guy does in hospitality has been brilliant. But clearly, he too has ascended to the world where you can hang out with the governor and do whatever bullshit you want to do. So
exactly. Yeah, and I mean, he's eating indoors, not wearing a mask, not socially distancing. But again, not allowing we, the people, to enjoy those same liberties, and even fining and shutting down other businesses that decided to exercise that same freedom. It's just absurd that they again feel like they are above the law. And it's like the rules for thee, but not for me. And when you have hypocrites in office saying that they are able to live a certain way, but we must live according to the way that they dictate, then we have a problem. We're not living as free people, and we're not living in a constitutional republic where we have representatives, you know, in office representing us. You know, they're representing themselves and their special interest groups and whoever else is keeping them in power.
Yeah. And look, and I've put it out, I don't actually care if politicians are purchased. But I do think if you are going to be purchased, you should be flying the flag of which companies own you. So if you're owned by Big Pharma, make sure you got it on your jacket, so at least the people know who's paying your bills, so we can decide whether you're acceptable or not.
Right. That's why I'm like by the people. You know?
Yeah, that's right. If you are purchased, or you do have vested interests, or, you know, other interests, outside of the people, we should know about it before we have to vote for you. Now, you guys have optional voting in Australia. In the US. In Australia, we have compulsory voting. So if we don't vote, we get a fine. We're sort of expected to vote, and that's at all levels. So from federal to our local councils to our state, regionals, all the different. So we sometimes have to vote 2 or 3 times a year for all sorts of different nonsense and all sorts of different corrupt politicians. How's your campaign going, mate? Like, how are you finding it? You're getting some traction? If Newsom's recalled, what are your chances of getting elected, mate?
Oh yeah, I'm getting great traction out here. I mean, I'm one of the leading candidates mainly because of my involvement in the recall process. Because it is bringing a lot of attention to the people involved, the volunteers, the organizers of the recall, etc. It's bringing a lot of attention to the effort to again remove him from power, and I played an instrumental role in that. So that again catapults me to the forefront. I was also the 2018 Libertarian candidate for California governor. So that's gained me a lot of traction as well. I still have many supporters from the Libertarian Party, as well as registered Libertarian voters that are supportive of me. I'm very well known in the Occupy Anonymous circles. I got those people behind me. The secessionist movement, Cal Exit. I'm actually a Cal Exit Congress member for Yes California. So out here in California, we're actually pushing to secede from the United States of America and create an independent state of California. We are afforded that liberty through way of our own declaration. And we again are pushing to provide more people information as to why this would be beneficial. We're a major donor state to federal funded programs and, federal regulation and policies that prevent us from exercising our freedoms here in the state are extremely, discriminatory. So we want to fight against that in every way, shape, and form. So declaring our independence will help combat that. And like I said, I got a lot of those people behind my run for governor as well, because if I do get elected, they know that I'm on their side, and I'll, of course, make sure that California stands out above the rest.
Mate, that's awesome. And look, I again vote one Governor Wildstar if you're in Cali.
Yeah.
My man, look, as you pointed out there, you're not actually a member of the Libertarian Party. You're running as a Republican. Is that still correct?
Yes, correct. I'm a Ron Paul Republican, not a red hat Trump Republican.
It doesn't get much better as a mentor than Ron Paul in libertarian and freedom circles. That's for sure. He's right up there, mate. But I did see recently you had a bit of an issue with some of the libertarian guys, or certainly one in particular. That looked like it got pretty.
You mean Chuck Ham of the Libertarian Party of California. So my issue and gripe with this guy is, libertarians are supposed to be against victimless crimes. And what happened in my case was a victimless crime. It was a nonviolent crime, but not only that, but there was no victim. There was no loss of property, any loss of money, any loss of life. So because libertarians adamantly feel as if any application of laws that where there is no victim should not be on the books for the record. They need to be repealed. They need to be nullified, and we should be doing everything in our power to fight against them. And Spike Cohen agrees on that. He was the Libertarian vice presidential candidate, and he actually kickstarted bringing attention to what was happening to me by sending out a tweet and saying, Wildstar was just arrested and, or sentenced and is on trial for this nonsense. And Angela McArdle of the Libertarian Party of Los Angeles, she actually started a campaign to write letters to the judge and district attorney requesting leniency. And as admirable as that was of her, and she was able to inspire people like Spike Cohen to send a letter, She also got people like this Chuck Ham guy who felt like he needed to take it upon himself to contact the judge and request that I not be given any leniency and that I basically be sent to jail and prosecuted by the law since I had violated their rules, even though they weren't constitutional. And again, even though there wasn't any victim, he felt as if I needed to be disciplined by the law, which is, to me, reflective of a lot of the sentiment of white America. You know, now you have white America, the majority, and then you have white America, the minority. Okay. So the white America majority are people that think like Chuck Ham, that think that the system needs to be disciplinary in making sure that we behave a certain way, especially black people, especially black people.
I've heard stories about you guys. I mean, honestly.
I mean, you can look at American history and that'll prove it to itself. As a matter of fact, I'll drop this little gem. Police departments and police, job in general came about as slave patrols. That's the origin of police in America. Slave patrollers, you know, and they're no different to this day, to where, again, the system can be used to target black people and treat them differently than white people. And you'll see it again with the Derek Chauvin trial. Even though, he's the one on trial, they're trying to make it seem like George Floyd was a druggie and that he deserved to die. That's ridiculous and disgusting that this language is even acceptable looking at this nation's history with slavery. But again, this Chuck Ham, going back to him, is resemblance of that same type of mindset. And I know him personally because I was in the Libertarian Party of California, and he actually, I met him. He actually helped me gain more exposure to my libertarian campaign for governor. So it was a bit of a slap in the face, and a stab in the back that he would do such a thing. And I basically just called him out on it. I said, hey, is this you? I contacted him personally, and he responded back saying basically, yes, you need to stay in your place and know the law instead of breaking the law. And even though, again, the law that stands says I have the right to record in court, they were imposing on me a court rule. Rules are not laws. I can have a rule that says when you come in my house, you better take off your shoes. That ain't the law. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Right. And this is a public place. So for it to be a public place, you can't just have arbitrary rules. There has to be a law of conduct for the public place. Like when you go to a public park, it has all sorts of rules. Don't litter. Don't, throw stuff in the water. Don't feed the ducks, and they have laws that say rules. You break those laws, probably going to be fined for it or dragged off to jail. And that's exactly what happened with this court case. It wasn't a law that I had broke. It was simply just a court order, a court rule. It was ridiculous. So there was a bit of blowback there because this guy in particular, he is an executive officer of the Libertarian Party of California. It wouldn't be any big problem if he was just a Libertarian Party member, but you're a representative of the party. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
On the official level. So either the Libertarian Party agrees with what he says by not removing him from that position, or they do stand by him. And so far, he hasn't been removed from his position. There has been no official response from the Libertarian Party of California. And that's why, again, I'm choosing to disassociate myself from them versus the members of the party, which I've gotten tremendous support from, including, like I said, Angela McCardle, who is the chair of the Libertarian Party of Los Angeles.
Mate, I imagine, and I'm glad at least some of the Libertarian folk are wise enough to still support you. I imagine the Libertarian Party of the United States and each state within the United States is very similar to our Libertarian Party over here. We call ourselves the Liberal Democrats, complete opposite to what the British version is. All these names don't really mean all that much in 2021 anyway. But our Libertarian Party, mate, has a lot of the same. It's infighting, and everybody's always bickering and arguing over fucking trivial nonsense.
Right.
You know, I don't know why they can't get their shit together, really. Like, part of being libertarian is accepting that people are going to have differences with you. That's kind of the whole gig. And we've been in the middle of an absolute shitstorm here with our party. We've got our annual conference coming up, and I think it's our 20-something year anniversary as an official party. It's all happening, you know. So I'd like to see our party unite on a far more pragmatic front, and I imagine the Libertarian Party in America, if they could unite and be far more pragmatic, you would have your Ron Paul Republicans, your Nickolas Wildstar Republicans, probably more likely to unite under that banner, I guess. The problem with the Republican is you've always got to answer the question is why you're running as a Republican. So you get your fringe guys, Libertarians, going, well, you're obviously a statist. And then you've got your other guys going, well, no, he's trying to get elected. You can't make a difference if you don't get elected. Or,
exactly.
You know, or you can make a difference if you don't get elected, but it's sort of for you wanting to be elected. That's a key. Well, it's a
I want to get elected. You know, I'd like to improve, you know, the possibilities of that as much as possible. And I found out how running as a libertarian is advantageous for me. It did help me gain more name recognition. It did not help me get on a larger debate stage and appeal to the masses, as well as, you know, shake that notion that a third party candidate won't have a shot at winning. Now I'm more convincing. Now people are taking my campaign more seriously and are investing that vote into me more heavily. And that's what I want. As long as I can be a man of principle and stand on my word and stand for the value of libertarianism and how it would benefit the people, then that's all that matters. And I thank people like Angela and Spike for recognizing that in me, as well as Dan Berman. He stepped up to the plate. Dan, taxation is theft. Berman, you know.
What a top guy. I've got to get him back as well soon. I've actually, we were talking quite a bit for a while when he did the taxation is theft fest, and you know, we were talking quite a lot around that sort of period. You know what it's like. Sometimes you talk a lot with somebody and then you sort of go off this way. He's running campaigns. I'm getting ready to start some new campaigning down this way. We've got a heap of elections coming up. So we're chasing candidates, vetting candidates. I'm working on my own profile to sort of rattle as many cages as possible. We've got a little local mayoral campaign that we're sort of driving here as well. And guys like Dan and Spike's been epic since the presidential election. I mean, Joe Jorgensen seems to have fallen off the planet a little bit and gone a bit quiet. Spike's actually just gone ballistic, and it's really good to see because he's very well spoken. He's smart. He's smart as a whip, to be fair, and he's very, very libertarian. He lives his values, which is really great to see. And I think he's going to do an excellent job. I presume he's positioning himself for a presidential run.
I think probably he'll run for that VP spot again and lock that in, which will definitely happen. You know, there are a few other candidates that probably would be challenging for him to topple for that presidential spot, like Justin Amash. He was a former congressman. He's joined the Libertarian Party, and I think they're priming him to run again in 2022 as a presidential candidate, this time for the Libertarian Party, since when he ran against Trump, he was running as a Republican. Yeah. So there are many libertarian-minded Republicans out in California or out in America in general. Another candidate that may step up to the plate is, you know, Jo Jorgensen. She may give it another go, as well as Larry Sharp, former gubernatorial candidate out of New York, and a few others.
Larry's brilliant. We've had him on this program, and he's a clever guy.
Indeed, yes.
Very intelligent man, and you know, again, I like to bounce off you guys because different as our systems are. My English is terrible this morning. As different as our systems are, there's a lot we can learn from each other. What works and what fails, and what does, what does good and what does bad within campaigning, within strategies, within finding candidates. And if we can all share that knowledge and the lessons learned, we've got a better chance of helping push for a freer society. So I absolutely love Larry Sharp. I try to watch The Sharp Way at least once or twice a week. I mean, he does an awful lot of podcasting and promoting at the moment. And I obviously, like yourself, we can't watch all of each other's programs every week. We'd all just be glued to YouTube. We wouldn't get anything done, So I try to support everybody where I can and watch where I can. And, I'm always, if I see you guys doing something, I do a like and a share. And if I can wake a few more people up to it, well, then that's great as well. Mate, I'm really hopeful that you get elected. I think that would be phenomenal. I'm really, really happy that you're not going to jail for 6 years for fucking videoing yourself. The thing, when it was all happening and your wife was public, and you and I never spoke about it, but I sort of just reached out to her and said, look, there's not much I can do from Australia, mate, but Nick's been absolutely great to work with, and I really hope, if there's any way I can help, I can help. Because she was stood real tall while you were in that little jam, mate. I was like, look at this lady is stepping up. It was impressive, mate.
Yeah, she's my backbone. I mean, she's the rock to the Wildstar family. So I'm very thankful for her, for the amount of strength she provides to me and her herself. And like I said, she's the one that keeps everything together. So thank you for reaching out to her and offering to assist her and, in all of this also, because it's been difficult for all of us. And of course, for her, having to be threatened with being a, single mom while her husband is in jail and having to deal with the toddler on her own was a possibility she had to, take into account. But thankfully that did not happen. I'm still here. I'm still free and still fighting the fight for we the people.
Mate, and look, and that's it. And that's one of the areas, I guess, in this political fight that we're all looking at is we are all, any of us that do this publicly, be it running as a candidate, doing YouTube-y type stuff, whatever the case may be. A few people said to me, oh, you should really polish it. And I'm like, well, everybody else does it. I'll keep mine fairly raw if you don't mind. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. But the other side is I don't have the technical skills to make it very, very polished. Like I just have very basic skills. But I think the message and the reaching out to you guys is massively important. And that's why I like to do it. But there is a big target on your back. And when I saw your trial, and look, and there's one on mine over here in Australia as well, because I go fairly hard at our version of a Republican and a Democrat party. We've got the Liberal Party and the Labor Party because none of it makes sense, but I go hard at them. And I know that there's quite a lot of them in there would love to shut me up. And our other guest this week that's featured with yourself is a lady named Andrea Takashi. She was actually kicked out of our Conservative Party over here just before the most recent elections, right before they whitewashed. They were absolutely obliterated. They're not even a two-party system in that state anymore. We've actually got states now that are almost one-party states. That's how totalitarian it's starting to shape up over here. It's getting really, really scary, mate. Yeah. They're getting across the line.
Here, I mean, we have a Democratic majority-ruled state. By way of the governor and our legislative body, pretty much the majority of them are Democrats. The majority of our judicial system, justices are Democrats. So, I completely agree with you as far as the totalitarian control. And it does take us combining our efforts, all across the world to kind of get this liberty movement going, because that's really what this is all about, is fighting for our freedom. Period. And we're challenging the establishment. We're threatening them, the superpowers that be, whether it be on the right or on the left, and all of these other labels that they want to call themselves. They present themselves as being people of the community. We the people, the public. They are not. They're the people that sit in their ivory castles that, were raised with the silver spoon in their mouth, and they know better than us. And so they try to relate by sitting down and having beers and going out and playing pool and, try to make it seem like they're one of us, that like they're a commoner, when
Yeah.
really not. They're an elitist, they're an oligarch, they're an autocrat, they're an all of the above that we, the people, do not need representing us. And that's why it is important for us to unite our efforts, because anything that I can do here in California, I'm pretty sure will help influence others there in Australia to do the same, and vice versa. I call myself Governor Wildstar because I govern my damn self. Like you said, I don't need a governor to tell me how to live my life. I think I'm good at living my life the best way possible, because I look at my life and it's great, and I know it could be better. And everything I do in my life to make it better is going to make those changes. It's not going to be because some government official or some law enforcement officer or whatever the case may be. It's going to be because I, as an individual, am choosing to make my life better, and by doing so, I'm also going to make others' lives better. And that's how we should be conducting ourselves as individuals. Be responsible for yourself and your actions. Stop being a baby. Grow up. You know what I'm saying? Because we got a whole bunch of grown ass kids
Babies.
here. I know, act like they still need to be told what to do by mommy and daddy. Still need to have their bills paid by mommy and daddy. Hell no, man. I've been out on my own since I was a teenager. So I'll be damned if another grown man is going to come along and tell me they know better for me than I know myself. We're going to have a conflict of interest there. And if you don't think there's something wrong with that, just ideally and fundamentally, that we as individuals should be able to think for ourselves, then you are definitely thinking like a supremacist.